Hey there, YouTubers and weavers. Well, today's lesson in weaving is real simple. Never say never. A couple of years ago when I did a shawl made with this Dutch thread called Scheepjes, S-C-H-E-E-P-J-E-S, Scheepjes, I've been told that's the correct pronunciation. Anyways, I said I'd probably never do that again. Well, I'm doing it again. Different color, but the same thread. So it's going to be another double weave V or L shape shawl. Same kind of yarn. And I'm just beginning to set up the loom. So I thought before I actually get any thread on here, I'm going to just show you one of the two things that I do to set up my loom that may or may not be helpful for other people. So I'm going to move the camera around the back and show you just a little bit of some of my prep work while the loom is still stark naked, how I'm getting it ready to go. I hope I've got a good angle to show you this. Okay, so the first thing you can see, I've got my, you can't because it's up a little high. Right here is my homemade rattle, the one that I prefer over the Louet built-in rattle, which is right there. But I like mine better, where using my cotter pins I've got 1-inch openings as opposed to a metric one that comes up to approximately 5 openings per inch. Secondly, what I do is I've got some strings just hanging here like this. They're just, and there's knots tied in them to make little loops. This is eventually going to hold my lee sticks while I'm working. And on this side, let's move the camera a little bit. On this side, what I've done is I've taken this tie-on rod, the wooden one, and used a piece of textile cord to connect it to the metal rod that the yarn's going to go over. And again, I've got this string with these little loops tied into them. I don't know if you can see that real. Let's zoom in a little bit. See this string? It's actually looped over the top, over the Louet rattle. Comes down here, and I've got little loops in it. And I put my lee sticks through there, and it connects the lee sticks to them and that metal rod, so that when I put the thread on, I've got it pre-set up, it's not going to fall apart on me. And let's do that in just a second. Okay, here's the first chain of my thread that's going to be the warp. Normally what I do first is I just set it over the top of the loom. Like this. And I'm going to come down in front of the camera. And I'm going to pick up my first lee stick and go in between the cross, like so. I'm going to pick up my second lee stick and go in between the other side of the cross, and there went that little metal bar, but that's okay. Now my cross is properly preserved, and I'm going to take this metal bar, and it is also going through the same loop as the lower lee stick. And I just set them up there like that. Then I'll come up here and drag it over and put each 1 inch worth of warp through the rattle, which hopefully you can see where it is up there. Let's move the camera up a little bit and zoom you in a little bit. So there we go. You can see I've got my first 2 inches worth through, and the rest of the chain just hangs off the front of the loom. And I'm going to continue doing this process for the rest of measuring out my warp and hanging it onto the loom. Okay, here's where I'm measuring warp. This will be the third set of 2 inches. So this is going to be inch number, we've got 5 going, so I'm using 2 threads at a time. My pathway is seen with the orange thread. It is 96 inches long. I measured it. That's why I'm going around this 2 over here. And yes, I know when you look at this on screen, it's really bright up here. That's because it's a bright sunny day outside and we've got picture windows at the front of the house. But this also means I've got enough light for videoing. Almost too much at the moment, but call me crazy, but I like to put choke ties in every inch. I know many weavers do not. It's a thing with me. I like this extra bit of control. It does slow it down a little bit, but I think it's worth it. There's 1 inch of warp measured. I'm going to measure another inch worth into the same batch, but you don't need to see that and be bored with it. Last batch of warp to go on. So grab the first lee stick, run it through above the cross, second lee stick, and metal rod, run it through below the cross. And this time I'm not going to just let them hang there. I'm going to put these right into the openings in this piece of string that I mentioned earlier. So now they're hanging there, and I still got to straighten out through the rattle, so we'll move 1 inch over, and there we are. The warp is all on. You can see it graduates from very light to relatively dark, although there's a little bit darker still left. I'm just not going to make this any wider. This will be 22 inches wide, 12 ends per inch in each layer, which means I'm threading the loom at 24 ends per inch, since it is double weave. So that's good. I got a tie on back here, but I think I'm not going to show all of that. Okay, YouTubers, here we go, starting to wind down this warp. And I'm really hoping that camera is giving you a good view. Let's be sure I'm doing it slow and carefully though. And I'm going to put a little bit of paper in. see on the back of the loom, in order to get a little bit more tension, I've weighted the warp with a few S-hooks, and continuing and I'm caught. We'll just throw a little stick in there to continue to separate it, because we're almost done. There. Okay, all the S-hooks have been taken out. I snipped off just that last little bit, so let's just take the warp and hang it down and back. Now what I'm going to do is put a couple of sticks in here and even that up. Now you can see that this angle was great for when I was winding on, because it came off the top of the rattle and went through these that are being held up and straight down, so I didn't get a lot of bend in those. I've always been afraid of breaking them if I have too much bend in them. But now I want these level here, so what I'm going to do is take this dowel, just temporarily poke it through there, take a little chunk of some really cheap yarn that I don't want to weave with, that I bought just as literally as colored string because it's cheap, and just tie this on so it doesn't fall off. Move the rattle back just a little bit. Let me get over on this side. Now that's there. Now I can take and those are sitting in the perfect position now for me to reach through and grab the threads when I'm coming through the heddles. So I like doing it this way. Yeah, I've never seen anybody else do it, but I like it this way. Gets me the right angle, the correct angle for doing winding on, and gets me the correct angle for grabbing the warp threads without putting tension on the lee sticks. Well, YouTubers, I was editing this video at the computer and realized it was getting awful long. So I backed off a little bit, and I'm going to end this video right here with having just gotten the warp onto the back of the loom. And then I'll split this and do another video in a couple of days that will be threading the heddles and slaying the reed and all of that kind of stuff. So look forward to that in a few days, but I think this is long enough now. So if you're already a subscriber to my channel, thanks a million. I do appreciate it. If you're not a subscriber, hit the subscribe thing below, and if you want to get a notification, hit the little bell thingy. I never do that for other people's videos, but if you want to do it, hey, that's great. Anyways, thanks a million for watching this video, and I'll catch you the next time around on YouTube in a couple days. Bye-bye.